Right now at 10, Madison police say they're putting an end to bar raids. We'll detail what led to the department's decision.
And construction is set to begin on John Nolan Drive, the expected traffic impacts of this major project.
Plus, many Americans are worried about the economy, how our spending habits are signaling a troubled future. That's all coming up on News 3 Now at 10. And good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Eric Franke.
And I'm Sarah Carlson. As we approach homecoming weekend, bars in downtown Madison can expect extra business.
But the busy weekend comes just as the Madison Police Department announces it'll be changing the way it patrols underage drinking in our area. Our Maddie Himes sits down with a captain to ask why bar raids are being reconsidered.
We've always been doing bar checks, tavern safety checks, and they've looked differently throughout the years.
Captain of the Madison Police Department's Central District, Kip Hartman, says bar checks will soon look different yet again. Police downtown to focus less on large-scale operations.
I know earlier this year there was a very lengthy one in time where officers were stopping everybody inside, IDing everybody, issuing lots of citations. We've looked to streamline that process.
And instead perform quick checks, monitoring lines, certifying bartenders are properly licensed, ensuring bars aren't over capacity, and offering amnesty to customers willing to turn over their fake IDs.
Allowing them to leave and look to hold the establishments accountable more than just the underagers that are getting inside.
Just last Thursday, 137 fake IDs were confiscated during an inspection at a State Street bar, but only 8 citations were given. Compare that to a raid back in January in which 206 citations were given out to patrons using fake IDs.
The goal is not to issue everybody a citation, but just to determine, has it 1 or 2 underage persons that were able to make it inside, or is the entire establishment full of underage drinkers?
I spoke to a few different downtown bar owners about the announcement. None of them wanted to go on camera, but did raise questions about the police department's focus on bar checks as opposed to recent violence downtown. But Hartman says they often go hand in hand.
We see a lot of other issues involved with the underage drinking, whether it's underagers ending up in a detox facility, hospitalizations, sexual assaults, the batteries, and all the other things that go with it. Then we have to address those things as well.
Hartman says the department hopes the change results in fewer citations overall. Reporting in downtown Madison, I'm Maddie Himes, News 3 Now.
All right, thanks, Maddie. And out to the weather, we have some patchy frost expected tonight.
Alex, who's most likely to see this freeze overnight?
Well, areas north of Madison stand a better chance again to see the potential for frost and freeze conditions. This would be areas along the Wisconsin River Valley just north of Madison, north and west of Beaver Dam, up towards Juneau, Adams, Marquette, Green Lake counties, and then one tier county south here that would include Vernon, Richland, Sauk, and Columbia counties as well for that potential for a little bit of frost tonight. So once again, this is another reminder before we get to heading to bed to maybe bring in those tender plants if that is something you want to keep those tender plants around for a little bit longer. Actual air temperatures not quite as cold as what we saw last night, but still close enough to freezing that we most certainly could still have some of that patchy frost out there. Even in the low-lying areas in the Wisconsin River Valley, you can't rule that out as well. Temperatures as we go into Thursday, we're going to bump those up in the 60s to near 70 degrees. And following a mild day on Thursday, we got a little bit of rain chances that we need to track here Thursday night and Friday. I'll show you the very latest new changes to the potential for that rain when I come back in just a little bit.
Sounds good, Alex. Thanks. A Dane County deputy and a homeowner are injured after a fire this afternoon. Around 4:30, deputies along with Stoughton and Oregon EMS and fire departments were called to a home in the town of Dunn. It was fully engulfed. Now, one resident was able to evacuate the house, but another was still inside. A deputy entered the burning home and was able to bring that person to safety. Both that individual and the deputy were taken to the hospital for treatment and are expected to be okay. And the cause of this fire is still under investigation, but it is not believed to be suspicious.
All streets back open in Sun Prairie after a gas leak led to the evacuation of several homes, businesses, even a school this morning. It happened in the area of West Main Street at Walker Way. The term gas leak carries some history in the city. It was about 7 years ago that the gas leak caused that downtown explosion that killed Fire Captain Corey Barr and leveled his pub, along with several other homes and businesses there. Crews say they evacuated a broader area sooner because they remember better to be safe than sorry.
We don't mess around with these, we take these very seriously. We'd rather evacuate a little bit too big and maybe provide a little inconvenience versus trying to, maybe keep the evacuation zone smaller and not impact people. Many of us work in the scene, did also work that same scene, and yeah, these are a very real situation for us.
Now, those residents were able to return to their homes about 2 this afternoon, while Westside Elementary students returned to be taken or bused home.
Nearly 300 days after the Abundant Life Christian School shooting, the last student hospitalized is now being released from American Family Children's Hospital. According to a UW Health spokesperson, Sammy Garduno Martinez will continue his recovery at a dedicated facility down in Chicago. Garduno Martinez was shot multiple times, including in the head, and went into a coma twice. A GoFundMe has been set up for him and his family. So far, it's raised $133,000. And now to a scare in the Middleton School District this morning. Police got an anonymous tip about someone with a weapon in the high school parking lot, but it turned out to be a hoax. After receiving this tip just after 9:30 this morning, all Middleton schools were placed in a secure building protocol as a precaution. Police then learned that this fake tip came from outside the country, so the protocol was lifted 10 minutes after it began.
Well, after 5 years of planning, a major construction project along John Nolan Drive is set to begin on Monday.
And our Jalen Banks joins us now with what you need to know ahead of the project.
John Nolan, one of the most prominent roadways used to get in and out of downtown Madison, is getting a makeover. Starting Monday, phase 1 of a 4-year project will kick off. Phase 1, the most notable and longest portion of the project, will reduce John Nolan down to 1 lane from Lakeside Street to Broome Street. All existing bridges on that stretch will be fully replaced, and 3 bridges will be added to help with bike and pedestrian traffic. This phase is set to last through the summer of 2027. Earlier, I spoke with the engineers who worked on the planning of this project for 5 years.
We've had many rounds of public involvement meetings, getting feedback on all parts of the design, multiple rounds through different city committees and boards. So definitely a long time coming.
So next Monday, traffic control will start being set up. It's probably going to take a full day to set up the traffic control, but it'll go down to 1 lane in each direction, pretty much from Lakeside up to around Monona Terrace.
Once phase 1 is completed, phase 2 will start at the end of 2027 and run through 2028. That will include reconstruction from Lakeside Street to Olin. And phase 3 will start in 2028 and will be finished in 2029. That will include construction from Olin all the way to the Beltline. They did share with me the timelines for phases 2 and 3 are tentative. The city at this time has not provided alternative routes with the lane closures of John Nolan, but say be mindful of peak travel times in the morning and in the later afternoon.
All right, Jalen, thank you. And if you'd like to see the city's full plan of the John Nolan construction project, you can find it on our website, channel3000.com.
Well, today, Wisconsin Senate Democrats launched their Affordable Wisconsin Agenda. Now, the goal with the program is to address the rising costs of a lot of things in the state: childcare, energy, housing, groceries, to name a few. Lawmakers will be hitting the roads to hear from Wisconsinites. That includes holding events, visiting businesses, and also just having conversations with residents to see what issues are impacting them.
We'll take what we hear from you, the constituents and our neighbors and your loved ones, and turn it into tangible policy solutions that will help working families keep more of their hard-earned money.
Now, after touring the state, the lawmakers will return to Madison to draft legislation aimed at lowering the cost of living and easing the burden placed on families throughout Wisconsin.
Consumers are not feeling great about the state of the economy, and their spending habits may be providing insight into where things are going. Americans are still spending despite high prices, but there's a widening spending gap between high and low income consumers, and signs revealing how people are spending their money may be changing.
We've delayed car purchases some. Appliances, electronics, we've slowed down on that. Travel, we've slowed down on that.
Economists are also pointing to less obvious indicators of economic discomfort, like cardboard box manufacturing, which is down 9% in 2025 amid U.S. factory closures and cutbacks. Well, next at 10, Israel and Hamas have agreed to the first phase of a new peace deal.
And tensions spill over on Capitol Hill, the message that federal workers have for lawmakers as the government shutdown continues.
You're watching News 3 Now at 10.
Federal employees are urging Congress to quickly reopen the government.
This comes as hundreds of thousands of workers continue their jobs without pay. Lawmakers remain deadlocked, though, over health care. Democrats want an extension of Affordable Care Act subsidies, but Republicans insist the shutdown should end first. Today, tensions spilled over on Capitol Hill.
So you voted for this one big
I signed
ugly
on
bill.
for this. You can extend it right now.
A permanent extension of massive tax breaks for your billionaire donors.
So 90% of Americans.
So they can get a permanent extension.
90% of Americans take the standard deduction.
So if the standoff stretches past this week, over 1 million active duty service members will not receive their next paychecks despite having to report for duty.
President Trump says Hamas and Israel have agreed to the first phase of a plan to end the fighting in Palestine. The president writing on Truth Social that the agreement means all of the hostages will be released very soon, and Israel will withdraw their troops to an agreed upon line. And earlier today, President Trump indicated a deal was fast approaching.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Now, it has not been made clear if negotiators made progress or whether Hamas will demilitarize, as President Trump has demanded, and eventually govern Gaza. Well, the fall has finally arrived here in southern Wisconsin, but will these 60s stick around much longer?
Chief Meteorologist Alex Harrington has the answer.
We are going to have some 60s stick around for longer, but how about upper 60s, 70s, 74? All these temperatures here in our future are going to be considerably above normal by a good 5, maybe 10 degrees with that average high of 63 for October 8th. And not uncommon to have still a little bit of patchy frost potential at this time of year. We got one more night of frosty conditions for areas mainly to the north of Madison. This is going to include Vernon County, Richland County, Sauk County, Columbia County, Juneau, Adams, Marquette, and Green Lake County. So Camp Douglas, the Dells, Lodi, Lone Rock, Richland Center, Viroqua, you all stand the chance of seeing some patchy frost overnight tonight. With temperatures getting down into the mid-30s, you may be wondering, well, how can you get frost in mid-30s? Well, sometimes temperatures right at the ground get a couple degrees colder, right down to 32, and that's that magic number where you start to get some of that frost, even though a little bit above the ground where our surface stations are, temperatures are just a little bit warmer in the mid-30s. So it can be kind of sneaky when you have temperatures in mid-30s. You can still get frost. Upper 60s, that's what we'll do for high temperatures on Thursday, right around 70 off to the west towards the Mississippi River. We got mid 60s off to the east towards Watertown and over towards Beaver Dam. Plenty of sunshine, so gorgeous fall Thursday on the way for southern Wisconsin. Updates, live television here. Tomorrow night's rain, Friday night's rain. Some changes with future track here. Not impressive. It was a little bit more impressive during the earlier newscast tonight. And here comes that frontal system. Just a few spotty showers and sprinkles now. That's a big change from earlier in our newscast this evening, where we were showing showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm. That's not showing the case right now here with our latest future track model with the sun coming up by the time we get into Friday afternoon. Overall rainfall amounts, big changes from what we saw during the 6 o'clock newscast, where we had a 1/4 to 1/2 inch. North of the Dells, maybe a 1/10 of an inch. So that's saying that my mom always says, maybe just enough to settle the dust in a couple of communities with that weather system. And we got the Badger game Saturday, the Packers game on Sunday. I'm going to break those down here in just a moment. Warming up to 74 on Monday and then staying in the upper 60s to right around 70 degrees with a chance of showers on Monday. And then again, another chance of showers as we go Thursday on into Friday. Here's those game forecasts. Badger football forecast here. 66 at kickoff, 60 at halftime, 56 at the end of the game. Maybe just want to bring that light red jacket to the Badger game. And then we've got the Packers forecast. This is the forecast for up in Green Bay. 68 at kickoff, at halftime 67. At the end of the game we'll do 64. Could have a shower towards the end with increasing clouds during the day, but overall the game at this point does look dry, comfortable, and maybe want to also bring a light green jacket for that game.
All right. Perfect fall weather.
Looks like good football weather too, Alex.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, the Packers will kick off against a familiar face on the Bengals offense this Sunday in Green Bay.
That's because Cincinnati recently picked up Joe Flacco after Joe Burrow's foot injury, and he just played against him a couple of weeks ago when he was with Cleveland. News 3 Now senior Packers writer Jason Wilde has more on how the team is feeling ahead of this rematch.
The talk of the Packers locker room today and with Matt LaFleur was the fact that the Cincinnati Bengals will have a brand new quarterback starting here Sunday at Lambeau Field against them. And it's an old quarterback that the Packers already saw this season. It's Joe Flacco, who the Packers played against and lost to in Cleveland on September 21st. Now the Bengals have acquired him, and he will make the start, trying to stop the Bengals' 3-game losing streak, which they've had since losing their quarterback, Joe Burrow, to a foot injury. It'll be interesting to see what Joe Flacco can do against a Packers defense that has seen him before. And Matt LaFleur says he's never seen anything quite like this in his coaching career, while Packers safety Xavier McKinney sees the danger of a quarterback who has already seen this defense once and now has a different cast of characters to operate with.
I can say that I don't think outside of a division game I've ever seen the same quarterback on a different team. So it'll be interesting.
I was actually thinking about kind of the other way around of kind of what he saw from us the very first, when he was with the Browns, what he's already kind of seen us do. So I was thinking about just kind of ways that he might try to come into this game, having different players and a different scheme of seeing what we've done this year. So just trying to see if there's going to be different ways where we can mix it up and show different things and play different things. So I'm gonna take a look at that just to I'm probably gonna rewatch the Browns game just to try to see what we were doing a little bit, and then I'll try to go from there.
Now, Joe Flacco wasn't particularly impressive in the Browns' win over the Packers last month. He threw for only 140 yards, and Xavier McKinney picked him off at the end of the first half. It'll be interesting to see what he can do, though, with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, his new wide receivers, with his new team. Again, that game is Sunday right here at Lambeau Field and right here on Channel 3 with a 3:25 kickoff. We'll have full coverage of the game and everything leading up to it on channel3000.com for free. And while you're there, remember to sign up for our newsletter, which delivers our Packers coverage directly to your inbox every single day. In Green Bay at Lambeau Field, Jason Wilde, channel3000.com.
Jason does such a good job promoting Channel 3 programming that he leaves me nothing to say. But I will say 3:25 on Sunday at Lambeau Field, and you can watch the game right here, as Jason said, on Channel 3. We're talking baseball tonight, and I'm just going to ignore that this lady next to me.
I figured I had one chance.
I'm trying to pretend.
It might be the only chance. Right?
It's a 2016 World Series championship.
Cubs, come on.
She dug deep into the closet to find that one. What do you have?
I have a very team-neutral tie here.
Like
just baseball fields.
A little stadiums.
Oh.
Old stadiums, too.
Old stadiums, but I think I'd go for the Brewers if I had to put a shirt on. And tonight was a big test.
That was a good game.
It really was. A fantastic game. And still looking at sports, the Brewers would look to blow the Cubs out of contention in the Windy City. The highlights from Game 3 of the NLDS next on News 3 Now. The Brewers brought their brooms to the Windy City looking to sweep the Cubs and win their first playoff series since 2018. And how sweep it would be to do that against Craig Counsell. But to get that done, they'd have to come back again. The Cubs, just like in the first two games, came out swinging in the first. Pete Crow Armstrong drives in a pair to put Chicago on top 3-1. The Cubs would score 4 in the frame. And the Crew, they had their chances to come back, scoring 1 in the fourth. Jake Bowers hits one on the button, making it 4-2, but they'd strand 2 in scoring position. And in the seventh, it was more of the same. Bowers beams a baseball over the ivy the other way, cutting the Cub lead to 1, but they just couldn't ever find the equalizer. In the eighth, Bowers comes up bare with the bases loaded, and the Cubs avoid the sweep as the Crew lose 4-3. They'll be back at it tomorrow.
Got to get the big hit sometimes, you know what I mean? We didn't get the big hit. The bunt is an easy run right there. He bunted it a little too hard. He's the best bunter we have. And, yeah, it happens.
Between John Blackwell and Nick Boyd, Wisconsin men's basketball is going to have one of the best backcourts in the country. Blackwell was named to the preseason All-Big Ten second team and moves to shooting guard this season. The newcomer Nick Boyd will play the point guard position, someone the coaching staff says sees the court like none other.
He's electric. He's electric, and he sees things before most any other player sees. Certainly, even some of us coaches. It's like, whoa, I didn't even see that one coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first time in my career I kind of had the ball in my hands and been able to, just been let loose. It's been fun, like you said, just a privilege to be the point guard here. So I'm just taking it all in.
And depending on where you look, the Badgers were picked to finish either 6th or 7th in the Big Ten's media preseason poll. Last year, you remember, they were picked to finish 12th, but made it all the way to the Big Ten title game. Well, speaking of Badgers, Johnny Davis is back in the Dairy State. The former first-round pick was traded to the Wisconsin Herd, the Bucks G League affiliate. He was selected 10th overall in the 2022 NBA draft, the highest ever for a Wisconsin native. You could say Wisconsin volleyball is on a roll. They've won 10 matches in a row and have not lost a single set in the process. This week's guest on the Wisconsin Huddle, Kristen Simon, says despite the Badgers' dominance, her group has grown tremendously in the last month.
We've really grown as players and really worked on doing our own job on the court and then being there for other teammates. So it's really flowed together, and just knowing what to do in certain situations and really maturing throughout the season.
Well, speaking of seasons, it's starting to feel more like fall outside. Alex will tell you what to expect next on News 3 Now.
Tonight on The Late Show. Wait for it. Colbert's got Scarlett Johansson and Senator Mark Kelly. CBS Tonight.
And Alex is back. A final check of the forecast before we throw Sarah's shirt in the garbage.
It's worth it.
Frost advisory for areas north of Madison. Again, this is that last chance. Take those tender plants, bring them inside of the house, maybe cover those fall mums up with a blanket or a sheet if you're north of Madison. But after this chance of frost will be a thing of the past. We are going to have temperatures very warm, very mild for this time of year as we go out into the middle of October. We've got the Badgers game on Saturday, Packers game on Sunday. Weather's looking great for both of those games. And then just some on and off rain shower chances next week. And those chances right now are not looking that high, but the temperatures, they will be pretty high this time of year.
Might be a little, I'm sorry, I was going to say it might be a little cool tomorrow at Wrigley. Late game tomorrow night.
Yeah, 8:08 first pitch.
All right, game 4. Thanks for joining us for News 3 Now at 10. Colbert's next.
And our next show, of course, tomorrow morning at 4:30. You can always find us streaming 24/7 on Channel 3000+.